A detailed treatment of his argument would be too advanced at this stage. What is important to know, however, is the ability of the dramatist either to us, either to use stock characters or depending on his creative purpose to individualize the character on so that it steps out of the typical. Similarly, in Roman comedy, we have a set of type characters like the angry father, a pair of young lovers, and a wily slave. The tradition of comedial del after 16th century Italy made popular by Italian actors to improve the dialogue had stock situation and stock character. A rich old man called the pantaloon would be tricked by young lovers with the help of a cunning slave called the Harry Harlequin. Who clowned and deceived the old man. The dramas of Shakespeare's in England and the of Molière in France were influenced by these older traditions, but their genius made them into something new and their own. In a play like Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, Orsino and Olivia are a refined version of the Alazon. Viola and Feste, the Festa, the allowed pool represent the iron where Sir Toby Blatch, a mixture of Wayne's shoulder, the Bargrat shoulder in Roman comedy, and the Gomoluchus and Sir Andrew Agucheck, the Agoricus, the village squire. We are not saying that Shakespeare confines himself to these types. Perhaps these types were his points of departure. He extends them, reinterprets them to suit his intention and the historical pressure of his times. Two more examples of his genius would lynch the issue. The fool in King Lear begins like a stock character but attains an almost philosophical height never paralleled before. So in Paul in Henry IV plays, we began as a Bargrat soldier of the traditional comedy, but subsequently evolved into an independent character in his own right, a granatum inventor of enjoyable life. In the earliest of play, with the religious orientation, the devil also was a butt of ridicule and a type. The fool or the clown or the gesture of feature of the court and later of aristocratic household was also a type borrowed and refined from folk traditions. The character of Vidushaka in the ancient Sanskrit drama could be cited as another example. Means only the up till the Sanskrit period came, up till that we will come to understand that Sanskrit was being learned during those times when Italian period was there. And in that period, the word Vidushaka was been was characterized as we know up till today, Vidushaka. Okay, how the Sanskrit drama could be cited as an another example. So Sanskrit was also was learned in those days. We come to know from these lines. We apart from provoking laughter, means every often acted as messenger of the king in love. In popular or flock traditions where performance heavily depend on improvisation, a set of typical characters becomes indispensable. Consider the native traditions of tamasha, wag, or jalsa. Tamasha, you know, wag or jalsa yani gathering where song and dance are been goes on, where satire and instructions are the predominant motives. म्हणजे सटायर म्हणजे एखादं उदाहरण सांगू शकता का तुम्ही? You can remember any satire. I retire होती है. It's a satire. बरोबर आहे. It's like a story time. In drama, the delineation of character is never direct. The dramatist has to communicate the feature of his characters by making them illuminate each other. uh, Very often, by contrast, Hamlet. Now, see, this is a novel, Hamlet, written by Shakespeare. The intellectual part, for instance, gains a sharpness when juxtaposed with leaders, the man of action. म्हणतात की the character performing such a dramatic function is termed a foil. Okay, with the end of a classicism and a neoclassicism. See the classicism period and a neoclassicism period. There was an end. Okay, when Hamlet was been before classicism, Hamlet was there in the drama, and after classicism, we will come to know some more this thing. Social culture milieu, the concept of characters also underwent important changes. Critics and readers began to argue that characters was not subordinate to plot. In fact, with the development of individualism with a renewed interest in the notion of selfhood and gradual secularization of different dominants of human activity, people tended to interpret human nature in terms of psychology. They began to unravel hidden motives. The invisible was merely the sign of the invisible, which was considered really significant to understand me and woman. Thus, the plot lost its relevancy, and it was argued that character and plot were interdependent. A novelist like Henry James precisely defines his new concept when he says, what is a character but the determination of incident? Okay. What is the incident but the illusion of the character? The informing idea behind these questions in the rise of man as a responsible agent. He not only influences the situation in life, but he becomes a creator. For Dr. Johnson, Shakespeare was a great dramatist because he created just representation of general nature. His characters thus significant humanity in the 19th and the 20th century. Readers and critics both may share Dr. Johnson's views, but they love Shakespeare because he created characters that dazzle in the singularity. Now, no two characters seem similarly, therefore they seem to respect Shakespeare for the characterization. psychological complexity he also brilliantly bestows upon his men and women with the evidence of the processum theater. More about it in unit 2. Okay, we will learn further about that in unit 2. Matters changed radically with the fourth wall missing. The member were watching the interaction of the man and the woman as though it was a minor image of life. As it was actually lived, naturally they expected dramatic character to resemble the refined version of the character as they commonly understood it. The predominant tendency that developed in the late 19th century was that of naturalism. Character thus became an organic cluster of tendencies, attitudes, emotions, ideas, creations, motivations overt and hidden. Characterization therefore become the ability of the dramatist to portray powerfully this complexity with fidelity to life. The conflict situation and the overall action in dramas reflected that way the characters in them gradually developed the dramatic contribution in Ibsen, 1828-1906, and Shaw, 1856 to 1950, delayed with the different complexity in their social, political, and historical concepts. In the later half of the 20th century, the concept of characters, as it was conventionally uh, understood, seemed to have served it. Proposed the organic cluster we mentioned above, purposed, presupposed what psychological called a stable ego, with a psychological concept with the experience of those two world, war and their shattering impact on the human psyche. We appear to have lost of development mental notion of character. The age-old terms plot and character no longer help us in understanding absurd of existential drama. For example, character is no longer the given. Persons, if persons in drama do have names, but they do not seem to have an identity. We have to see the filling the blanks with the appropriate terms. The misfortune of the tragic hero is caused by, you have to see, look the answers and write it down according to the given listing. Okay. Now for the first part, the misfortune of a tragic hero is caused by tragic error or a homotheria. Okay. You can write it down. Tragic or hom homotheria. The three character types, namely Alazon, Pyron, and Bomolochus, were common in Greek comedy. Ben Jonson portrayed his dramatic characters according to the theory of humans. Okay, for the fourth, Foster distinguished between flat and round characters. Okay, how are the characters? Foster. Forster distinguished between flat and round characters. For the fifth, Pantaloons and Harlequins are two stock characters in the popular Roman comedy. Okay, so for the further 4.1 dialogue, we have to see now what is dialogue. Dialogue is the most essential part in the drama, where it's a part of a story where you have to learn what is the dialogue. You have to see if you see any story, or if you read any movie, or if you go for any this thing. Dialogue is famous nowadays. You can look any of the dialogue, popular dialogues. You can see how dialogue is being mentioned. Okay, we are going to know what is being by a dialogue. We have noted that drama is an impersonal art. Okay, unlike that of the storyteller. By impersonal, we mean that the dramatist does not intervene in person because he shows his history. Okay, see how they have described. Telling and showing are two different methods. In a short story or a novel, the characters created by the artist speaks to each other very much like the person in actual situation in life. But the storyteller or the narrator to be more up to date can does not comment on interpret what the character says to each other. Thus, he seems to direct dialogue in a drama does not certainly direct and control our response. In drama, all that we have is that the characters say to each other. In the ultimate analysis, drama is nothing but the speech of the man and the woman created by the dramatist. When we read a drama and read these speeches or a dialogue, the dictionary tells us that dialogue is conversation between two or more persons, real or imaginary. In this past discussion of ideas or disputes, topics used to be presented in the form of dialogue. In order to be presented in the form of a dialogue, in order to do justice to the scope of the topic in hand. For our purpose, this meaning is relevant. Therefore, reading drama means reading the dialogue. Okay. Besides, you can do this job also. That you can go and see any drama near our uh, near our this thing, the drama one near Bal Gandharva, and you can see that in a drama and some people while watching the drama you can see some may be sitting with the books. They are trying to see the word to word according to their many of the people are interested, those who are really uh, are working with this concept. Okay, you can see in go to Valgandhara and watch for the any of the drama. You can see many people uh, with the books making line by line. is it exactly going? You can pinpoint all the things. Okay. Besides dialogue, we are also read what we call stages directions, usually printed in brackets. These are brief descriptions on time, place, and persons engaged in conversation. Then when we where, how, and who, and to whom is a dramatic text. All that the characters in a drama seems to do is to speak to each other. And oversimplification, of course, it becomes an experience only when it assumes full force on the stage. As we read it, power may be lost on us. Dialogue is a drama, does certainly reflect the conversation we hear all the times around us. But the dialogue is more selective, edited, and organized because it is governed by the totality of the dramatic text and has to perform dramatic functions. What the character speaks not only reveals his nature, it also gives us information about his relation with the person spoke to. It allows throws light on the speaker's uh, understanding of the nature of the person spoken to, or of the person not present when the conversation takes place. Everything that character speaks contributes to forward the action of the drama. The entire situation becomes live and potent. Potent. Because of the dialogue, J.L. Saturn very rightly describes the dialogue as dramatic scenes. A line or a sentence, see, a line or a sentence take out of the dramatic situation, as I have told. If you go to any of the Balgandharva, you can see with the book line by line, with the sentence, does it go, it right, बरोबर चाललंय की नाही ड्रामामध्ये. People search for that also today also. Okay, so you can watch any drama at Balgandhar. May appear to resemble ordinary conversation, may seem trivial or just rambling, but placed within its dramatic context, it begins to operate on several levels at once. When we read it, we may not be able to catch the multiple meaning, subtle suggestions, and the aspects of meaning we gather in an actual communication. But all these levels come alive in the theater when the drama is being performed in act. It is a dialogue that holds a mirror up to what the dramatist attempts to express. Dialogue may be in a very in a verse or a prose. Okay, the use of prose as a medium, in fact, is relatively recent. Ancient drama used dialogue in words. Greek drama, Sense tragedy, Senca 4 BC, 65 AD. Shakespeare has his contemporary praise wrote what he called poetic drama. William Congreve, 1670 to 1729, Oscar Wilde, 1856 to 900, or Georgian. See, these are the parts where you have to note it down. Here, all actually, you can see most of the drama part in due to as for your exam point of view, you are getting good this thing concept of all some great poets, dramatists uh, here in one para, so that you can actually make a point, or you can keep as a note which will be long life for your एक्झाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्ह्यू. म्हणजे कुठला पिरियड कोणत्या वेळेस आहे, कोणाचा पिरियड, that will be used for your exam point of view. You can just look for the period, and while writing the answers for, if you are going for Shakespeare, you are going for William Congreve, if you are going for Oscar Wilde, you can, if you are going for George Bernard Shaw, the period is given, and also the century, 20th century dramatists. For example, in prose, a few dramatists in the first half century revived the tradition of the poetic drama like T.S. Eliot, 1885. Now Eliot comes till 1965. आत्ता आपल्या सेंचुरीमध्ये पर्यंत Eliot was there. Or Christopher Fire, he is the one of the 907. See, this is a very important part in your textbook, which is mentioned in a paragraph, which will help you during your exam point of view. You have to make it a note that all the dramatists and the poets which are familiar and famous, their era is been described. म्हणजे ते शोधाशोध तुम्हाला परीक्षेच्या वेळेस करता लागणार, तुम्हाला करता म्हणजे करू लागणार नाही, म्हणून तुम्हाला ते सोप्या ह्याच्यामध्ये पटकन मिळाला आहे, तर तुम्ही ते जॉट डाऊन करून ठेवा. ओके. Now again we will go to the earlier history of drama. Tell us what that is, what predominantly verbal Shakespeare's drama. For instance, the stage in Shakespeare's time was not highly developed. Much of what technology advancement can do on the stage today, that had to be done by the quality of his poetry. Now, from the predominant, they have described in short की पूर्वीच्या ज्या poems होत्या, they were predominant verbal. Shakespeare's drama were instant. Now the stage in the Shakespeare times was not highly developed, but much of what technology and advance when it came, it it go for the stage today, that to be done by the quality of his poetry. Now everyone what they look today also, क्वालिटी. आत्ता सध्या काय झालं की आपल्याला पोएम्स वगैरे हे सगळं आता बालपणापासून माहिती, परंतु आजच्या युगामध्ये, आजच्या चालू याच्यामध्ये फॉर द पोएट्री क्वालिटी इज नीडेड. ओके, quality is necessary to write down the poetry. Now you will look for the language. Language of the theater was it in its cradle. Suggestions, the setting, creating atmosphere and mood were some of the tradition functions. Poetry effectively performed with the illusions of the technical side of the theater. The dramatist can now concentrate more on the quality of his dramatic speech or a dialogue. Though paradoxically enough, dialogue over the last 50 to 60 years has dwindled into broken sentences, incoherent phrases, grunts, or even long pauses. There are reasons for his surely, but dramatic dialogues has traveled a fairly long distance from the speeches running in 4 to 5 pages in some of the plays of Shaw, like Back of Methuselah or Man and Shaw likes Back of Methuselah and Man and Superman, for example. From the point of view of Shaw's philosophy, the speeches may be important enough, but are they acceptable on the stage? See the question. Are they acceptable? You have to find it. If an actor holds the stage for say 15 minutes to deliver his speech, we are bound to get impatient and find in it something revoluting to our sense of the theater experience. Dialogue in drama, therefore, has to be written to suit the notion of stage worthiness, because if it is unstage worthy, it would remain incomplete. Dramas like Rothemann's Unbounded, P.B. Shelley, 1792 to 1822, Altana and Claydon, Swinburne, 1837 to 903, or the famous The Dantias, Thomas Hardy, 1840. You have gone through Thomas Hardy. Okay, 1920. Are remembered for the outward form rather than studied as a vital contribution of dramatic liberation. Down the century, number of critics have even men of the theater have never stopped questioning the stage worthiness of Shakespeare's King Lear. They found the spectacle of suffering in the play too intense for the stage. There is yet another point the dramatist has to consider. The performance lasts for a certain period of time, and he has to articulate his subject with means you have to say articulate means you have to open your mouth and say his subject with that time limit. The performance cannot go on and on. In incident Greece, performance were given in a row. There three tragedies followed by a Satra play. But then their theater's activities were part of religious festivals, and the audience perhaps did not have a choice. Within the constraint of a modern day existence, dialogue is a drama, is bound to be a short, to the point, and racy. Today, no dramatist performed would continue beyond 2 hours. These external factors have profoundly influenced the nature of a dramatic text. We have said that dialogue could either be in a verse or a prose. Those who prefaced prose argued that it was natural. It in our daily transaction we seek prose. Therefore, serve or poetry was artificial, trying to make out a case of poetic drama. Eliot strongly argued that prose was artificial as a verse because no person is actuality speaks like a character in Congreves or Shaw. म्हणजे अगदीच काही लोक ॲज अ अगदीच अशा वेगळ्या भाषेत बोलण्याचा प्रयत्न करतात. दे आर ट्राईंग टू डेव्हलप देअर स्टेज बट दे आर नॉट कॉन्ग्रीड. म्हणजे अगदीच कुठलीही गोष्ट अगदी जाऊन करायची स्टेजवर बोलायचं किती भले आपल्या सामान्य म्हणजे साधारण दृष्टीने लोकांना बरोबर असेल किंवा नसेल सुद्धा बट यू हॅव टू स्पीक इट डाऊन असं वर्तन थोडक्यात. दे हॅव डिस्क्राईब द ऍक्च्युअल दिस थिंग स्पीक्स लाईक अ कॅरेक्टर. However, close to real conversation, see, we will go through. See, however, close to real conversation, the dialogue in a drama, it can not ever be real conversation. म्हणजे खरंच नसेल असं. A dramatist with a gifted ears tries to approximate the rhythm, mannerism. See, the manners, what you learn up today is a mannerism, modulation, and a style of real person on whom he models his characters. But drama is not merely a Xerox copy of life. Okay, the speeches of individual characters may be convinced like person in real life, but in their essence, they do not have life outside the totality. The dramatist creates, in other words, Hamlet never grows old or even no liar only as an old man. Ideally, a dramatist aims at creating and as many distinct voices as there are characters. No two characters would speak in a similar fashion, though we uh, share and speak the same language. Each one of us speak it indifferently. When we read a drama, we primarily distinguish one character from another by their use of language. A gifted poet and dramatist like Shakespeare creates a multiplicity of characters because he can manipulate different levels of language used with easy and felicity. We would now note and examine three terms associated with the drama. See what are those three terms, which forms a part of the text but can be distinguished from a dialogue. These are the conventions of the past rarely today. Used today. In ancient Greece drama, chorus was an imperceptible part of the text. Means what they are explained. अगोदर कसं होतं की whenever there was any drama in ancient times, chorus was most popularly. If you look for today also in churches, the chorus is going on. They sing in a chorus part. It used to be able in a group of singers and dancers. It served as a commentary on the characters and event in the drama and also filled in the gaps in the storyline. It was a link between the dramatist and the audience, similarly to the Sutradhar. Okay, in ancient India drama, in Elizabethan drama. Now see the types. This is a Elizabethan drama. The group was replaced by a single person who delivered the prologue and epilogue, exposition and contemporary on the event, information of the event taking place on the stage, the setting or time and place of event where some of the functions the chorus perform. This is a pattern used all the see that this is an important part to just now we have learned these 2-3 lines is an important part for the exam point of view that Elizabethan drama, the group was replaced by a single person who delivered the prologue. They can ask you a prologue and an epilogue. Further, we will come to know this is a short meaning. Further, we will come to know the long meaning. Exposition and or a contemporary on the event. See, what is it? Information of events. If you are asked in a short way, information, you can write this down. Information of events taking place on stage, the setting or time and place of event where some of the functions the chorus perform. Okay. Now further in the modern drama, there is a no chorus, but in many plays, some of the functions the chorus performs are appropriated by a character that stands as an observer offering a different perceived witness. Such a character is called a choral character. Thersites in Shakespeare's is Troilus and Saradas are set back with a Onari's morning becomes Electra could be cited as examples. Yet another terms in aside, a character utters a line or a two which the audience hears. Yet another term in aside, a character utters a line or a two which the audience hears clearly. But by convention, it is supposed that other character presence on the stage do not hear it. Means this is the part where that in a short way you can see that की हे चाललंय stage मध्ये you're watching a stage and somebody in the audience one of the character after this अरे जरा प्लीज पाणी आण रे किंवा असा एखादा आवाज ऑडियन्स मधनं येणार किंवा स्टेज मधनं येणार utters a line in the two asa clearly it's a conventional part but by convention it is supposed that a character presence on the stage do not hear it okay ते काय ऐकण्यासारखं असतं but something is going on beside the backstage okay it gives an advantage to the audience and throws what is happening on the stage in a new perspective means मग लोक काय करतील की त्याच्यामुळं की if something happens they will create a noise they will naturally be Norastic with the advance of Norastic convention. The side is largely forgotten. The most prestigious and common convention is that a solo key, a single character on the stage, speaks as though to himself. The rest of the stage is empty. Okay, it is believed that the character delivering solo key speaks truth and therefore relieves his innermost thought. Being a party to what the solo key has explained, the audience can respond to subsequent sense with the knowledge thus gained in the absence of the device in the modern theater. Solo key was uh, the only means in the hands of the dramatist. On the past to present the psychological complexity of the character despite in fact of the basis of the number of solo keys in Hamlet. He could number of solo keys in Hamlet. He could ascertain that Shakespeare was intensely interested in the inner working of Hamlet's mind. Now, see, Soloki is a part where actually, firstly, like in the way it's an explanation that in a psychological manner, it is been actually in the first part, if you will see that it's an absence of device, means there is a no interest. But after if you are familiar की हा अरे आता जरा थोडंसं कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी वगैरे गेलेलं आता जरा बरोबर आहे की आपण म्हणतो हा हा आता बरोबर आहे बरं का म्हणजे एखाद दुसऱ्याने सांगितलं की हा दिस इज गुड दिस पार्ट इज की तो म्हणाला म्हणून हा आता मला जरा बरोबर वाटतं की इट्स लाईक दॅट पार्ट की अगोदर खरं ऍक्च्युली समजत नव्हतं पण हा आता जरा थोडं चित्र स्पष्ट झालं इट्स लाईक दॅट पार्ट इट्स कॉल्ड अ सोलुकी we could ascertain that Shakespeare was instantly interested in the inner working of Hamlet's mind. Macbeth could also be mentioned as another important drama. Macbeth is also one of the drama which we are going to learn during our novels. It's a good novel in your syllabus. Another important drama to support these observations. Okay, it is mentioned you have this drama to support these observations. Means um, what we are going to learn is the next book, a Macbeth. It's a novel. In the last line we have seen it gives a support of drama. How drama is support to the observation. म्हणजे आतापर्यंत जे काय आपण वाचून ऑब्झर्व करत आलेलो आहोत आता ते आपल्याला कशात स्पष्ट करायचंय कोणत्या नॉवेलद्वारे आपल्याला अभ्यासायचंय मॅकबेथ हे एक जे आहे त्या मॅकबेथ च्या नॉवेल थ्रू आपल्याला ते अभ्यासायचंय ओके नाउ चेक द प्रोग्रेस फॉर दिस here they have given directions are a help to the readers and perhaps more importantly related to how the dramatist wants the drama to be produced on the stage. Macbeth is also a stage drama. If you will come to know, you can read the book of, you will get it, you can read the book of Macbeth. Stage direction thus establish a link between the readers and the dramatist. And if a director follows them word for word, a link between the dramatist and the audience mediated by the director. We have seen that in the dramatist literature of the past of the chorus took care of these functions. Okay, theoretically, it can be argued that the whole cluster of the stage direction is a relic of the chorus in the modern dress. Okay, the person responsible for dramatic production in ancient Greece was called a choreographer. His modern avatar in the direction, but the choreographer had a lot of freedom, which he had to use judicially to stage a performance because stage directions were absent. Okay, in modern drama, stage directions are elaborated. So we can conclude that through the medium of the stage directions, the dramatist attempts to exercise his control on the production. It seems that it is need to see that the actual production remains as faithful to his conceptions as possible. To that extent, therefore, he allows a very limited freedom to the director. In practice, okay, it's however, this is not the case. Even reputed dramatists like Tennessee Williams, 1914. See, if you will see this word Tennessee. Tennyson SON is different. This Tennessee is Williams is different. Okay. Now you have to pronounce it as they have given. Tennessee. Okay. 1914 to see the period to 1983. It's in our century. 1914 to 1983 have accepted changes suggested by the director called Ilya Kazan to suit the performance in the theater. Since the production of the drama on the stage depends on the collaborative efforts of the people associated with the theater, the dramatist needs to give up the unquestioned authority. Every often today, we make a perfectly valid distinction between a writer's play and a director's play. Broadly speaking, the director would remain faithful to the suggestions of the dramatist, but he does not take liberties with them at different stages of organizing the performance. Liberties, see if you will see a road. Now here actually, if you will see in our Pune also, if you go through the road, there are many pathways. For what purpose they have been built? The pathway that man should walk in a proper way on the path, or will he walk on the street? He is giving a liberty. He is given a liberty to, if he is walking, he can go walk from the footpath. Okay, so this is called as a liberty. The performance also defines to a totally an interception and imaginative director. Therefore, old would aim and discovering a new meaning by fully exploiting the uh, language of the theater at his command. Dramas of the past do not have many stage directions. Entrance and exits of characters are clearly indicated. The dialogue, the thrust, what it says, and the smaller units of the plot cannot be shaped without them. Act 1, Scene 1 of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, for example, states a place just in 4 words, a street in Rome. Okay, means what the liberty during those days. It's a conceptual example for a street in a Rome. It's called as a liberty. It was mentioned in that part. The actual production of this scene on the stage gives the direction enough freedom to think about the details of the costume movements and the appearance of the character. So it is true of the first scene of Karnat's Lock, but a slight difference. The stage direction reads AD 1327. The yard in front of the chief court of justice in Delhi. A crowd of citizens, mostly Muslims, with a few Hindus, were, and there now the directions who wants to do these scenes has to note the year mentioned. It will control the presentation of a number of things. The crowd he intends to show on the stage requires to be divided into mostly Muslims and a few Hindus. Naturally, we would decide upon the use of the convention signals that would make the audience recognize Muslim and Hindu. Means if you will see that one sign is always you can see a plus sign is there, and Hindus they see the God, and the Muslims they show the another their exact logo, and for the Christian the plus sign itself is there. इथे जे तीन चिन्ह आहेत, according to that it's a signals that would make the audience recognize Muslims and Hindus, and to this word here and there, and we have a clear instruction as to how the Hindus are being located on the stage or the acting area. For a sizable area in the background should also suggest the yard of the chief court of justice. Okay, for up till now today we will stop here for the day, and try for the next period again. Thank you.